Hello YouTube, this is Insane Monster here with part 1 of What If Deku Had the Big Dipper style. Now before the what if begins, I'd like to apologize for the less frequency of my what ifs than they were in the past. Due to some things going on, I've had to do a lot of things to help out some family members that couldn't really go out and do things for themselves due to the whole quarantine thing and such. Secondly, I had to take care of something that was kind of messing with, I guess you could say, my financial state, but I was able to take care of that today. And thirdly, whenever I've been having some free time, I've actually been taking a lot of notes with a new note app that I have on my laptop, and been taking notes on things for a number of what ifs that would ultimately change things like the basic power set and such for characters in multiple what ifs. So, along with also some planned what ifs that have yet to be brought to get that have yet to be uploaded and such, which will be hold off until I get to a point where I clear a good number of what ifs from my channel by finishing them up to the current standard of the actual anime. So I do hope that you understand, and I will try to make them upload videos a little bit more frequently like I did in the past, unlike recently, and I do hope you understand. Now with that out of the way, hit it.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? This is just for us now.
Okay, now for those who probably don't know, there is a part 0 to this, and you haven't seen it, please stop watching this one right now and go directly to my channel to watch part 0 before you watch this part 1. Otherwise, you won't be able to follow. Now then, we get to the beginning of the what if, where Deku obviously sees the fight between the heroes and the giantification villain that ends with Mount Lady taking the villain out and such. Things go pretty similar to canon, especially in the classroom where he tosses up all the papers saying that they want to be heroes, stating that both Bakugo and Midoriya want to go to UA. Everyone in their class understands that they have a definite chance of actually getting in. But Bakugo obviously has to be kind of crappy about it, putting everybody down and such. This just makes Deku just sigh, thinking, jeez, he shouldn't really be so confident. Considering he keeps getting his ass handed to him by my grandpa in training. But whatever. After class, Bakugo tells Deku that, hey, as Deku looks behind him and sees Bakugo remarks, at the exam for UA, I'm going to beat you in the scoring. Izuku just smirked, looking back at him, saying, we'll see about that, as he left to go home. He went the same route as in canon, and like in canon, he did meet with the Sludge villain. So this time, he used his blood power to form some blood threads around the Sludge villain, which he noticed and wasn't sure what was going on. which was a bit late for him to do anything about it when he used the wind attribute of his power to basically put the sludge villain into a freaking spin cycle to the point to where he couldn't walk or move straight and just practically passes out almost, even to the point where he looks like he's about to throw up something, though he's not sure what's, considering his body's made out of sludge. Which is when All Might burst in, yelling, "Do not fear, for I am here." When he just sees the sludge villain about to hurl chunks in underneath this tunnel with a kid standing over him. He asks what happens, and Izuku is excited to see All Might, but he does compose himself enough to tell him what happened, that he was trying to attack me, and I just spun him around to this point. All Might's fine with that, and he balls him up as he thanks Midoriya for the assisting, but also remarks that he shouldn't be doing this all the time so that he won't get in trouble with the law. But considering he helped catch the sludge villain, he's gonna let it slip by for now, as he just jumps away. Zuko smirks, being happy to meet All Might and getting some acknowledgement for some good work, stopping the sludge villain, and starts walking. Unfortunately, All Might's incredible and very forceful jump ended up causing the bottles the sludge villain was in to rip a hole in his pocket, which the sludge villain then just fell out. So, same thing as in canon, he gets loosed when Bakugo kicks the bottle he was in and captures Bakugo. Once the explosion happens, All Might's deflated, and Izuku basically runs over to see what's going on, which he sees that none of the heroes are trying to stop the villain, and he hears that the sludge villain got a hostage, with him thinking, damn it, he must have slipped away from All Might and grabbed somebody. But where is he? When he takes a look, he sees that the sludge villain has Bakugo. He slips on the metal areas around the finger, up some openings to use his blood quirk, and rushes over straight to Bakugo. He uses the thread, he makes some threads, or guess you can, most accurate thing I could say for this ability is threads, and used it to go through the sludge villain's body, grabbing Bakugo, ripping him clean out, tossing him to the hero death arms that was there. After that, the sludge villain said, damn it, you again? I'll deal with you now, and then I'll take another hostage. As he goes to attack, he just keeps missing Izuku over and over again. Izuku's training from his grandpa was pretty intense, so he knows how to dodge enemy attacks as well as retaliate. As he begins to form the first blade, Blood Dipper technique. This is the katana one made out of blood. He blitzes the villain, cutting his sludge body into pieces while purposely avoiding the parts of his body that seem more physical, like his eyes and mouth, so he didn't cause, anything he didn't want to happen. It splattered the villain across the area a little bit, but he quickly began to reform his body. So he was then met by being surrounded by strings of blood coming from Izuku's hand, both of his hands. With one hand, he rubbed the rings on the fingerless glove that he had on with his left hand to spark up the flames. Well, spark the blood to ignite it, setting the villain on fire. Then, using both of his hands, moving them to activate the wind power to encase him in a spiraling ball of whirling flames. This, of course, scorched him up a good bit, causing him enough pain to pass out. After that, he used his powers to went to slice the top of a fire hydrant that was nearby off, then used the wind he creates to create a small little twister thing to whirl up with the water, sending basically the water from the hydrant all over the place, extinguishing all of the fires. The crowd did cheer for him, but the heroes and media were starting to rush him. So he just hurried up and full on extended his blood to pretty much reel the blood back to him so he could just sling himself away. This is possible for him. And yes, it might seem kind of like Spider-Man-ish, but no, this isn't webs, this is blood, just something he can do. As he gets out of there, not wanting to have to deal with heroes griping at him or the media hounding him for how well he can use his quirk like that. As he's going home and getting out of there, there's a man with blonde hair that looks like a skeleton thinking that this kid is incredible. As he goes home, Bakugo finds him and yells, "I didn't need your help. I could have dealt with that on my own." As he just kind of smirks, saying, "Are you sure? Because I'm pretty sure he was about halfway down your throat to your stomach." As he just got pissed, yelling, Bakugo yelled, "Oh, just shut the hell up," as he stormed off, angry as usual. Then Deku is met by All Might again, with him stating that he did good, though deflating, spitting up blood instantly, with Izuku being freaked and saying, "You're not All Might," as All Might then begins to explain his situation, showing him with Izuku's just looking at him saying, "That's incredible. So banged up and still the number one hero? Huh, kind of reminds me of my grandpa." Which All Might is kind of confused about this, but lets it slide for now, figuring he'll probably figure it out later, or he'll get an explanation about that later. As he begins to state that he wants to pass down his power to him, he's freaking confused trying to figure this out, which All Might state, "Stop nerding out," as he just explains that it's just how it is, extending his hand, asking if he's willing to accept it. He thinks for a moment, trying to figure out whether or not he should accept it, but he breathes in, breathes out, and states, "All right, I'll accept it if you think I'm worth it." All Might smirked and gave him an address to meet him at a certain day. As then Izuku goes back home. When he gets there, he's met with his grandpa smacking him on the head with his cane, just doing that his normal speaking thing where he's going like, "Arr, arr, 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 arr." If you've seen Blood Blockade Battlefront or the Japanese version of the name that you might know how to pronounce it, I forget how to say it or how it's written, but whatever. And he gets griped at for using his power in public without telling him twice, which he figured he probably heard the news about it, about his fight, but then was thinking that All Might said he wouldn't tell anybody about what he did, so he didn't know what was the supposed to be the second one. Which then he notices a girl with spiky uh, black hair and a ponytail. Now we reverse this a little bit, the rewind to how this all went about, which we see his grandpa just jumping around on his stick getting groceries, where a girl would, like, if you understand the description, it's Momo, takes a look at the nearby television and sees the recording of what happened. And she says, "It's him again. Looks like he's still helping people out of nowheres, huh?" This catches his attention, Izuku's grandpa's attention, but before he can say anything, some rude guy comes up to Momo's telling her to come with him, with a devilish grin on him as he tells him no. He starts to get angry and tries to grab her, though he's instantly ends up with a blood hand thing, grabbing his ankle, then tossing him into a group of garbage cans, while being reeled back after that, being held upside down. While he goes to talk to her, asking her about what she meant by that when he sees the report on the TV, though she doesn't understand what he's saying. His vocal cords are pretty torn up. So he spun the guy around, grabbing him by the head with the blood hand, then began to talk through him, stating, "I know this might seem weird, but my body is a bit damaged, including my vocal cords, so I'm using this useless whelp to talk to you through him. Anything he says is just me talking, so please do understand. As for why I'm talking to you right now, I would like to know what you meant about that boy on the TV right now and what you said earlier about him going off and saving people out of nowheres," as he asked why he would like to know that and if he knows him. He states through the guy he's basically puppeting, stating that, "Well, that is my grandson, and I did train him how to use his power, though he tends to use it to help people out of nowhere sometimes, even though he isn't licensed to do so, which I have to scold him often every now and then." With Momo excited to figure out that she could finally figure out what his name was so she could thank him, telling his Izuku's grandpa that she was actually attemptably kidnapped one time and he saved her, stopping the villains and such so that they wouldn't take her away. As he then just like slams the stick onto the ground, yelling through the guys, saying, "Honestly, the indecency of some people just going out and thinking about kidnapping a young girl. Honestly, I can hardly be mad at my grandson for stepping in for that." As Momo then stated that he looked like he was in a bit of a hurry, so he didn't get to thank him. It was something about the first day of middle school, so it was a couple of years ago. As he states, "Ah, yes, I remember him saying something like he was almost late that day. Never said why, though. So this is what happened on that day." So you never did get to thank him, as Momo confirmed that she never actually did get to thank him before he ran off, or got his name, as he just began to hop on his stick, telling her to follow him as he just tossed the guy he was puppeting back into to the trash, but before then stated that my grandson's name is Izuku, and that if you want to thank him for what he did, then follow me. So they just left the creep in the garbage as she was led to the Midoriya's household, where we are back to where his grandfather is smacking them in the head with his cane, yelling at him, which Momo is seeing this interaction and raises her hand asking, how exactly are you understanding him? Which they like Izuku and his grandfather aren't hearing her because they're arguing. So Inko steps in and tells her that, well, her father is somewhat sorry, her father-in-law, I believe I made him, is somewhat a his body got pretty damaged. He used to actually have his lower half of his body, but an incident kind of took it, also damaging his vocal cords, which is why he speaks like that. But if you live with him long enough, you tend to pick up on a couple of cues and such. But yeah, just remember it is uh, Inko's dad, I believe, but whatever. But she then explains that after a while of interacting with him, even people that didn't grow up with him can tend to pick up on how he speaks, understanding what he says, which is how Izuku can have a fluent conversation with him without issue. So she's confused and asks, wait, if he lost so much of his body, how is he still alive? He just states that his quirk allows him to control his blood in various ways. Not only to use elemental attacks with wind and fire, which Izuku actually inherited from him, but he also uses it to replace as a means of replacing the functions of the organs and such that he lost, which he is fully capable of withstanding all day, every day, which she just finds incredibly impressive. Just the sheer thought of how much control he has of his power to even do that. She can't even imagine how much hard work it took. But then the grandpa just started yelling again at him, stating, "Oh, crap! You found out about that, huh? Wait, now that I think about it, she does look familiar. Oh yeah, you're that girl that was attemptably kidnapped, right?" She stated yes, and that she came here to properly thank him for saving her, introducing herself as Momo Yaoyorozu, which then his grandpa chimed in again, and Izuku stated after hearing what his grandpa said in his weird speech and such, stating she was getting hassled by some creep on the street. Really? But he translated, his grandpa said, yes, it seems as though this girl has a bit of, seems to attract some trouble every now and then. Though, to be fair, I believe that happens a lot with attractive young ladies, which causes Izuku to blush a bit looking at Momo, which he just scratches his head as Momo states, what did he say? Izuku just said, oh, nothing, just my grandpa being weird. As then he's met with another cane to the head, with his grandpa yelling at him saying, weird? Really? That's how you're going to describe your grandfather to her? With he just stating, well, oh, yeah, I mean, it's already weird enough that you can control your blood to substitute your lost organs. And the way you're talking right now is embarrassing. as he just says, just bring the girl home and then come back home immediately. We'll talk about your the incident today that was plastered all over the TV when you get back. All right? Make sure she gets home without being hassled again. All right? As he just sighs and says, "Okay, Dad, Grandpa, okay." Jeez. As he tells Momo that his grandpa asked him to escort her home. She accepted, and at a certain point, when they got to a wall, like a really long wall, she stated that her house is near here and that she'll be just fine from here. With bowing, saying thank you for escorting me and everything you and your grandfather did, and saying that she hopes to meet again. As he says, maybe we'll meet around. As she blushes a bit and gets his attention, asking if she can have his phone number in case she ever gets in trouble again. Izuku blushes a bit and says, "All right," as they exchange information. Going off. Momo was smirking with a slight blush, thinking that she's glad that she has his number now, as he gets home and is continuously scolded by his grandpa about going off and doing all that when he isn't licensed to do it. So he's glad that he only does this when people are in trouble, but he still needs to refrain himself. But also states that if the heroes were actually doing their jobs, then his grandson wouldn't have to step in to do their jobs for him. Basically disgusted about how the hero standard seems to be dropping so low. As Dooku then told his grandpa that he'll be training alone for a while for the next 10 months for the UA exam. His grandpa wasn't so happy about it because he wanted to make sure he trained him properly himself, but Izuku stated that he needs to train on his own so that he can figure some stuff out on him for himself. If he only learns from getting instructed, then he feels like he won't grow at all. His grandpa accepted that and told him, "Fine, but make sure you get home at a suitable time." He does agree to that and goes off the bed. After that, he meets with All Might at Dagobah Beach, which All Might then states the goal that they'll be having to clean up this entire beach. Which he just goes, "Oh, jeez. Just look at this place. I can even see a freaking car just dumped on the beach. Who the hell does that?" As All Might explained that due to the current, a lot of trash ends up here, so people tend to just dump their garbage here without any regard for the environment. So he just starts to get to work. He uses his strength to move some stuff a little bit more easier than Kanan since he's been trained constantly by his grandpa. As for Bakugo, he still occasionally challenges Izuku's grandfather, trying to beat him and getting some more experience in fighting and using his quirk, but still gets smacked around by his grandpa with him stating, "You need to control your anger. Honestly, you're completely and utterly inept in so many areas, but your anger just makes you so sloppy in a fight." Which, since Bakugo has been training with Izuku and Bakugo for, Bakugo been training with Izuku and his grandfather for so long, he does know how to understand his grandpa and his unusual speech. Though he acts whereas Izuku, his grandpa just states that he's training on his own, trying to grow by himself. Though as Bakugo has been training on his own, he occasionally still challenges Izuku's grandpa, which is basically a routine at this point. Though Izuku's grandfather does state that it reminds him of that kid that came around after Endeavor challenged him, stating that he hopes that he took what they told him to heart and is using his full power his own way, thinking that it was kind of idiotic for him to think that a power he was born with would be controlled by someone else, like his father, seeing it as just ridiculous. Which we switch over to a clip of Todoroki, who's training hard using both his ice and his flames, thinking that I'll learn how to use this power for myself, no one else, especially not him, with a image in his mind of his dad. So yes, his he did take the words that Izuku's grandpa said to heart and has been training diligently, not just with his ice, but also with his flames as well, since then. Which we get back to Izuku, who's cleaning up the beach a bit faster than in canon, but is training really hard. Like in canon, he's still pushing himself over the limit, which All Might sees and also scolds him about it. But Izuku just states that I have to improve so much. I have to make sure that I'm ready. All Might acknowledges this determination and goes with it. He's also making sure that he studies enough so that he can pass the written part of the exam as well. Which, let's say he ends up at finishing it a week before the exam starts and receives the hair. He's confused, but All Might states that it's just how the power's transferred. So, regrettably, he eats the hair. After some time, he tries out the power. Now, I'm assuming, like with a lot of my what ifs, when he has a actual power, it would be much easier to manage because he understands how to work a quirk, actually, the flow of using it, especially with his current quirk. So he tries first using the blood power on its own, without One for All. He summons up a trident and makes it to where it channels some wind going out to the ocean. Seeing that same as normal, now he charges it in his whole body with One for All, and then tries it again. Drastic increase in power. Using his flames then creates a even larger explosion of flames than normal. He notices that he's able to produce a lot more power while also using less blood than it would take for him to normally create that much flame using his blood, which honestly, I would imagine using his blood to create fire and such means that it's being used as a type of fuel, which he is just pumped about, being excited, though figuring that he should probably try to punch now. He tries to flow it throughout his whole body, since, like I said, having a quirk in this version, he's able to manage it a bit better. And throws a punch, realizing that his arm hurts a bit. It isn't broken, but the muscle fibers are a bit torn, and he thinks he might have cracked the bone a little bit. All Might checks him out and makes a call, telling him that he should probably learn how to manage the quirk a bit better into percentages, explaining that different percentages of the power could have different effects. And if he controls it properly, he can work with it a lot better. In some cases, like now, restraint is key to make sure that this power doesn't harm you until your body is fully prepared for 100%. Also stating that at his current ability, what he just used might have been about 60 or 70% of One for All, which shocked Izuku, remarking that that wasn't 100%. Jeez. Later on, we see Recovery Girl stop by the beach as she checks out his arm and then uses her quirk on him to heal him up. After that, All Might tells him to just relax for the last week and that he'll see him later after he gets into UA. He thanks All Might for all he's done for him, training him, and thanks Recovery Girl for healing him up, which she tells him that is no big deal, but to make sure to not push yourself too far. If you were to use 100%, you might end up shattering all the bones in your arm. Which he just kind of nervously laughs, being glad that he didn't do that. So he looked at All Might confused when he realized that she knows about it. All Might explains that a few people at the UA actually know about his real quirk. So when he gets there, he'll have some people to help him out in case he isn't always there or if he's caught up with something. So he goes back home and relaxes for the last week, doing some training with his grandpa every now and then to help keep him a bit sharp. Though his grandpa has noticed he's gotten a lot stronger. And he's able to use the fire and wind elements using his blood together with a lot more ease. He's proud of his grandson, but also curious about how this happened. But also across this whole training session for the 10 months, he's been texting Momo every now and then, and they've been hanging out. See, they've obviously been enjoying each other company, though they're a bit nervous around each other. So every now and then, his grandpa whacks him in the head with a cane, telling him, "Yeah, man, and actually ask her out." Though he says this during the last week, which he understands what his grandpa's getting at, and he actually seems to like Momo, so he just tells his grandpa that he'll say it once he's sure that he'll get into UA. Not stating that if I can't even get into UA, then maybe I shouldn't ask her out. Which then he's met with another cane to the back of the head again, with his grandpa saying, "That's just stupid. For one, even if you don't get in, you should still ask her out. And secondly, I'm pretty sure that you'll easily get into UA. So don't doubt yourself. Understand?" As Zuko just smirks, thanking his grandpa for the pep talk, as he just goes hopping away on his stick. Now, this is the end of this part. I do hope you enjoyed. Sorry if I messed up on a couple of parts. Today has just been a little annoying getting some stuff situated, so Still, I hope you enjoyed this part. Also, the next What If that will be uploaded will be the second part of What If Asta had a Adola burst. So, I do hope that you will be excited for when it does come out. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that Also remember to hit the notification bell and set it to all so that you know and get notified whenever a new video is uploaded. So, with all that said, see you guys later. Hope you enjoyed and have a good day or night, depending on when you're watching this. So, see ya.